Hey guys, Simply Betta here. Now before watching any more of this video, go ahead and click the subscribe button if you haven't already. Today I'm going to be doing something kind of awesome, in my opinion. I'm going to be making divided betta fish tanks. Why is this such a big deal that I'm so excited about? Well, if you've been watching me for a while, you've seen me complain about the wrist injuries that I had. How I raise a lot of betta fish. Every single fish that had to be separated from its spawn, because they're very aggressive, go in like these jars, and they have to grow out that way. Can you take care of a fish in a smallish container without a filter? Yes, you can, but it's very labor intensive and it's hard, especially if you have alkaline water like I do. It makes everything harder and worse. And so that's just a recipe for ammonia spikes if you're not really vigilant and really careful and doing the very intensive manual water change process, which I was doing. No big deal, right? I could spend an hour in the fish room changing water, and I loved it because it's just my little hobby and I like doing it. But then I overdid it. I hurt myself. I hurt my wrists handling all of those jars, and I hurt myself like an idiot, and I was out of commission for months and helpless because I couldn't do anything on my own. So enough ranting about that. I learned my lesson. I have to make things easier in the fish room for myself, for my hands, for my wrists, just everything. So I'm trying to move away from being so reliant on jars, on manual jars. And I've been doing a pretty good job. I'll try to link some videos up here. I made a recirculating system for my wall. Well, it's actually a flow-through system right now. It's not fully recirculating, but it's a way for me to change the water on 40 grow-out fish with the press of a button. Also, fairly recently, I made a system with some 40-gallon breeder tanks on a dual stand, and each one of those tanks houses something like 20 male fish in divided little sections, and it works fantastic. And that helped relieve a lot of work. Just so much work, because now instead of manually changing jars all the time, all I had to do was use my Python hose and change out a 40-gallon breeder tank a couple times a week. I've taken so much work out of the picture, but I still had jars. I still have jars that I manually water change and I take care of rigorously. And a couple weeks ago, after doing all my water changes, you know, the manual way, just trying to be more mindful of how I'm holding my wrists, I started to feel sore. That's terrible. That's terrible news, because all I could think about was, oh no, it's coming back. It's coming back. It's all I could think about. Being so injured and helpless like that, especially when I have to lug around my little 3-year-old all the time, was terrible. And I don't want to go through that again. Ever in my life. Tendinitis, when it's severe like that, is just the worst thing ever. Okay, I'm sure there's worse things. I'm exaggerating. It's what I do. It's time for me to take more jars out of the picture. Maybe not every single jar, but just more. And this is how I'm going to do it. Back here behind me, you can see some tanks. I have a 20-gallon long right here, and then I have two 10-gallon tanks. These are going to be going into my fish room, and they'll be divided tanks. Using these are some really nice dividers that I got from Life with Pets. She has a YouTube channel, everyone probably knows that, Life with Pets, and she has her own website where she makes these nice dividers. Like, they're thick, they're sturdy. I like these. They feel heavy duty compared to something like the mesh. There are some DIY options for dividing your own tank, but it's using a mesh, and I wanted something less see-through, but that still had holes in it for flow, to get some flow going through there, that fit nicely in a variety of tanks, sturdy and reusable and adjustable. So basically what you do is you just pop this in a tank. Now my 20-gallon long tank is divided into about 2 10-gallon sections. So why not add a couple more dividers? Now I have about 4 or 5-ish gallon sections. So you can see just how nice this is when you think about the fact that you could get this 20-gallon tank for 20 bucks at the Petco $1 per gallon sale, and you can have one single heated filtered tank, but then you can divide it up into sections for multiple betta fish. You can see why I like these so much. I'll have a link down below in the description where you can get a divider if you want one for your own tank. I also have these dividers in the 10-gallon sizes, and that's how I'll divide up some of the 10-gallon tanks behind me. This is a little bit of a project because not only, I'll be dividing it and then I'm going to be planting the tanks and putting substrate in, and this might take me a few days because I have very precious little free time. So now you might be wondering, well, how much can I divide up a tank? How much can I do it? I might recommend like a 10-gallon tank. You could make 2 nice 5-gallon sizes. You could even make 3 nice compartments for your betta fish. And it could be heated and filtered and cycled, and it could be a great little space. For the 20-gallon tank, you could stick with the 4 5-gallon partitions, or you could make them a little bit smaller and maybe do 5 or 6, and maybe some plants in there. It'd be fantastic. When you're deciding on the bio load of your tank, just one thing to keep in mind is how often do you take care of the water? It's like, do you never want to have to do water changes, or super rarely, maybe a single fish in a 10-gallon tank with plants is your best option? Do you want to put a bunch of fish in a 10-gallon tank? You're gonna have to take care of the water more. That's not a problem for me. In the fish room, I do water changes a lot. This tank might get like 4 little water changes a week or more, just depending on what the water's looking like for me and what the bio load is like. I have a much more intensive setup than most pet keepers, than most fish keepers, because it's a more intensive system. I take care of my fish much more, I scrutinize everything a lot more because I have so many fish to take care of. So because of that, I'm gonna be dividing up this 20-gallon long into something like 10 spaces. Each fish will have like their own nice wide little narrow space. And that's just how it's gonna be. Then with my 10 gallons, I'm probably gonna do the same thing, about 2 gallons per fish. And then these tanks are also going to be planted. They're going to be heated and filtered. So this is gonna be a really great space. That's gonna take a lot less physical labor on my end to take care of properly and to maintain water conditions, which I'm very excited about. This is gonna be really nice. Making my flow-through wall system and also my system with my 40-gallon breeders, it's given me a little bit of a taste for less work. And I kind of like it. I like it a lot. I did it. I put all the dividers in, so let me show you how they look. This is how they look with the dividers all in. For the 20-gallon tank, I've made 10 2-gallon partitions. Because of the dimensions of the 20-gallon tank, they're fairly thin, but they're long. They're thin and long. But it's roughly 2 gallons of space each, which is more than my fish get right now. So this is an upgrade, and it's less work. And then over here in the 10-gallon compartment, I've divided this into 5 sections. So these are also 2-gallon little sections. They look bigger because they're wider, but they're shorter. So it's kind of a toss-up. So 5 fish will go in here, 5 fish will go in here, and 10 fish will go in here. Tomorrow I should be getting a little canister filter in the mail. The reason I got a canister filter is because I want some flow throughout this whole tank. I should have this gentle flow going all the way through the tank and then circulating back and going back through the tank like this. And it should be really slow and gentle. So I'll go to the post office tomorrow and hopefully finish up this little project. I'm in the fish room now, so it's gonna be a little loud in here. So here's my divided 20-gallon tank. I set this project down a while ago, and now I'm just coming back to it. Why? Because this little baby is due in just a few months, and I really just need to get this done. This is gonna make my life so much easier, so much easier. So the next step for making this tank is going to be to put substrate in to the tank. I have the dividers in, I have all the dividers, I have my 10 little spaces. Now I'm gonna get some substrate in there, so that way I can support some plant life. It'll soften my water a little bit, which bettas totally dig, but mostly it's because I want to support plant life and really make this pretty and a nice little habitat for these fish. The products that I'll be using today are from my sponsor, Brightwell Aquatics. They have a substrate line, and that's what I'm going to be using. I'm going to be using a nice small granule aquatic plant substrate called Florin Volcanate, and also some base layers, kind of like you see set up in the fancy ADA tanks. This is like the Brightwell version of making some different layers in the substrate to make substrate last longer and be more nutritious for plants. Nutritious? Nutritious is not a word that's the wrong word. Lately I've just felt like I'm tired of doing things over and over again. I just want to do it one time the right way and just end it and be done. And that's why I'm doing it this way, so I don't have to come back and finish later. Then I'll also be using an aquatic plant fertilizer and a bacterial starter just to get things going in here, because I don't have that long. I don't have that long before the baby comes! Also, my fish room is really cramped. It's a tiny, tiny little space, so I'm gonna do the best I can to film what I'm doing. Hopefully, I'll be able to get some okay shots. My big pregnant stomach basically takes up the whole room. Also, the reason I put the dividers in before I'm putting the substrate in is just so the dividers are going to be held in place by that substrate, and I wasn't going to have to be fighting it and making my substrate all muddy if I put the dividers in after I put the substrate in. First thing is this laterite powder. It's like a clay powder. It's rich in iron for my plants. And because this is really awkward to put stuff in, I'm going to be doing it just little bit by bit with a little tiny cup. This is the next one I'll add. It's a larger granule of the lateran substrate. Very fine granule. Now I'm going to add a bunch of this. It's like the next size up of this base layer. And next I'm putting in the final layer and the thickest layer. This is the actual volcanic substrate. It's really nice dark color and I like it a lot. I've gone ahead and I've put all my substrate in, and now this thing's too heavy for me to pick up and put back on the shelf. Somebody yelled for my husband. Husband! I have something heavy for you. Here's the end result. It looks messy and uneven, and that's because I was working on the floor and my big stomach was in the way, and I couldn't really see what I was doing. So now I'm just gonna go in and like clean the glass a little bit and even out the substrate. I didn't film it because I thought it might be a little bit redundant, but I did the exact same thing to a 10-gallon tank that I have off to my side over here. This one tucked over here into this little lower corner above where the toilet was. There's going to be a space for 5 more fish. I think I'll go ahead and fill these tanks up. It might be a little murky, you know, the very first night, but then I'll turn the filter on, and the water should be really nice tomorrow, and then I'll figure out what plants I'm going to put in it. If you guys have been watching my channel for a little while, some time back, I started something called the Fish Room Beautification Project. And this is just going to be a continuation of it. I want it to look pretty and planted, and I want to enjoy it, instead of just being practical all the time. Here's the 20-gallon all filled up, and right now I have a canister filter on it. It's just a tiny little Sun canister filter. I'm actually not even sure if that's a good idea. Like, it might be slightly too high powered. I'm trying to look at the current in this very first section and determine if that's too much for a betta fish. Just not quite sure yet. If I decide that it is too much, I'm just gonna run some air line over here and hook it up to my air system, and this will be sponge filter powered. I'm just gonna leave this to run overnight. I went ahead and I put a little bit of filter media in this, and then I'm also gonna seed this with some beneficial bacteria using Florinbacter. It's kind of like a daily dose that you can do in your fish tanks to just get them established a little faster. I'm filling this one up too, and then I'll kind of do the same thing. Get some filters set up, get some beneficial bacteria in there to start colonizing, all that good stuff. Also, since these are new tanks with like no waste in them, there's nothing in these to even feed bacteria for me to get my cycle going. So I'm actually gonna feed the bacteria using like this bacteria food, Fast Start. So using these two products is how I'm gonna get these jump started, because that baby's coming soon. It's another day, it's early in the morning. I got a package from Flip Aquatics. Rob is sponsoring this little fish tank of mine. So what I got was some wood. I'm pretty much totally out of any kind of wood. Wood is great. I like wood a lot. I got some Malaysian driftwood and also some spider wood. Some various pieces because, like I said, I'm out. Wood is great for creating natural habitats. It's great for, well, if you have shrimp, which I'm gonna have shrimp soon, it's great for supporting shrimp because of all the surface area that the wood provides. Also, it just looks really cool and it can really spice up a tank. Wood can look so cool, like if you tie or if you glue some Anubias to it, which I plan on doing because I have a ton of Anubias right now and I want to glue it to some wood. I did get some plants from Rob to help fill up this divided tank. I always save the packaging for my own shipping from my website. Whenever I get a box, I save the packaging. I like to recycle. This is such a nice piece of water Sprite. Holy cow, that's huge. Right on. And then I also got a couple little banana plants. I haven't had very much luck with banana plants. I'm not really sure what I'm doing wrong, but I'm gonna try one more time. This is gonna be my last try for banana plant. I don't really understand why I keep killing my banana plants, and the bananas keep rotting off, and the leaves keep rotting off, and then it just disintegrates, and it smells terrible. I also got just a little more guppy grass, because I like guppy grass. Oh, well, I have some time before work. I'll go throw these in my tank and get that divided Betta Tank populated with plants. Of course, as soon as I want to film a nice little outro for this video, my LED light stopped working and the remote kind of stopped working. Maybe it just needs new batteries, but it's been finicky ever since I got it. So I just popped this little tiny LED light on. I really like how this setup ended up looking, and the canister filter's working great. The plants are doing really well, the ones that I put in there. I'm gonna give them some time to grow so I can kind of propagate them and really fill out this tank. This project has been a huge win so far. I'm really happy with it, and I can't wait to do an update video with how it does and how well I get the plants looking. I'm pretty excited about that too. Thanks so much for watching, guys. I'll see you next time.